Staff at the Japanese embassy are used to seeing protesters outside their front door because they've been coming practically every Wednesday for almost 30 years. They're here to demand justice for historical wrongs they feel Japan committed in Korea, and chief among them is sexual slavery. Tens of thousands of women were taken from Korea during the Japanese occupation and often forced into prostitution. They're called the comfort women.
We want this issue recorded in their history books so that the current generation can be educated on it. We are demanding the construction of a memorial hall for the victims and a history museum to be built to keep the issue alive and to prevent similar sexual assaults in the future.
Considering this protest has been going on since 1992, it's perhaps a bit surprising to still see the sheer energy and effort here. But the protesters are still saying they want what they consider a proper apology from Japan and justice for the comfort women. Relations between South Korea and Japan are the worst they've been in years. In December, Japan said South Korea had locked onto a Japanese plane with radar, a claim Seoul denies. And 2 Japanese companies may have their assets seized in South Korea after a court decided that millions of dollars in compensation are owed to people who were forced laborers. But the Japanese occupation ended in 1945, and Japan and South Korea are now strong trading partners, as well as being the 2 most developed countries in East Asia. That's led some to believe that Seoul and Tokyo should focus on the future rather than the past.
In truth, South Korea and Japan share similar ideologies and systems. Both governments have liberal democracies, while North Korea, Russia and China are under totalitarian rule. In that respect, Japan and South Korea have a lot in common and have to rely on each other.
But it's understandable that, for many Koreans, it's hard to let go of the past. Yi Ok-seon was only 15 when she was taken by Japanese forces and then forced into years of servitude, including 3 years in sexual slavery.
Some died in the mountains, some hung themselves, drowned or died in other ways. What do we do with this anguish? When the Japanese invaded Korea, we were the weaker nation. Those Japanese invaded China and forced the women into sexual slavery. They were taken by force, men were conscripted, and women became comfort women. It was a living hell. I managed to survive.
Yi Ok-seon was eventually taken to China and lived there until she came back to South Korea in 2000. Now she lives at the House of Sharing, a nursing home for former comfort women that also doubles as a museum. But as the years go by, more of her friends, who also shared the same trauma, are dying. She worries that younger generations will forget the horrible things that happened all those years ago. Abubakr al Shamahi, TRT World, Seoul.